Hi everybody, I hope everything is going well with you. So in this 3-hour video, we are going to learn how to develop websites with Python. And we are going to do that with a special web framework that is called Django. So if you don't know anything about web development, you are totally fine because we are going to cover everything from scratch. And I can promise you that the interaction with that amazing framework is going to be very exciting and also fun. So let me give you a quick demonstration of the website that we are going to build throughout this tutorial. So here we have it. This is the website that we are going to build throughout this tutorial, and you can see that its name is Gym Shaped Coding Market, and that means that we are going to build a website where we can purchase some items and stuff like that. So we have the ability to log into that website, and if you don't have any account, you can also register to that website. So let me create a quick account here. So I will create an account and we are going to see what is going to happen. So let's click create account, and you can see that we receive a message that tells us that this account has been created successfully, and now we have the ability to see the different items on that website. And you can see that I can display some more information about each of the products. So let's show more information about iPhone 9. And you can see that this leads us to a nice message as well. And we also have the ability to purchase some of the items on that page. So let's try to purchase iPhone 9, and you can see that right after I click purchase, I receive a nice message as well. And you can also see that this iPhone 9 is not available on that items page. So we kind of took an ownership on that iPhone 9, so it makes sense to not display this product on that page anymore. So I hope you will enjoy this tutorial, and let's get started. Alright, so let's go through the process of installation of Django. Now, Django is like a package inside Python, so we have to install it with pip. And I'm going to assume that you have already installed Python on your computer, and also you have an IDE that you can code with Python. So I'm opening my terminal right now, and I'm going to install Django with pip. So it will be pip install Django. Okay, and if you see that this command does not work for you, try to do that with pip3. Basically, this can happen because maybe you have more than one interpreters on your local computer, and just try pip3 if pip without any number does not work for you. So I will hit enter and install Django, and you can already see the version that it is going to install to my computer. And this is important because you want to install the version that I install, because if you install a further version, it might lead to misunderstanding, and it might lead to stuff like, hey, why it does work for him and not for me. And this can happen because there are some differences in different versions. So it is quite important that you stick with my version. Now, as you can see, this is finished the installation, and in order to check out if we have done a great job, we can go with a command and check that out. So we will clean everything here, and I will use a command that is installed by Django, which is Django-admin. So Django-admin allows you to take some administrative actions within the Django framework. So we can check if we installed correctly by -- version. So you can see the output back, and that means everything is fine. Now let's clean the terminal once again. And in order to launch a fresh new project, we will use the Django admin once again. Now this time our command is going to look like Django admin start project. And pay attention that I did not created any separation between the start and the project, so make sure to write them all combined. Now after that, we will give our project a name, so we will call it market, and once I do that, I expect to have a brand new directory with all the files that Django brings when we create a new project. So in order to test that out, I will navigate inside my project directory. So within cpython tut, which is the directory that I used, we will go inside our market, and you can see that there are some files that are already existing over there. And currently we won't get into details to what is inside here, but we will discuss about this file which is called manage.py. So this file is a special file that allows you to manage your web server. Okay, so you can start your web server, you can stop your web server, and you can take some more special actions which we are going to see in the future. So I will navigate within cd command to our market directory and I will launch python manage.py file. But because we said that the manage.py file is a special file that can take some multiple actions, we will take a special action which is called run server. And basically the run server will be responsible to launch our website on our local computer. Okay, so if we go ahead and press enter, you can see that we receive some information about the initialization of our website. Okay, so the very important line that I want to discuss about it is the starting development server at this URL. So this is the URL that if you navigate now with your web browser, you can see your website. And we are going to do that just in a second. So you want to copy this entire statement here and navigate back to your Chrome browser and paste that in. So you can see that everything is installed correctly and we see this output which says the install works successfully, and that means that everything is fine. So our next steps from here will be to open the project with PyCharm, which is the IDE that we are going to use in this video, and that will be it. So let's get into PyCharm. And one more information that I wanted to specify: the IP and basically the URL here is, if it is quite weird for you, let me explain what is going on here. So 127.0.0.1 is an IP address that is referring to your local computer. So it is going to be the same address on each computer because this is just a convention, all right? And the number right after it, it is a port. Basically, this is a number that identifies the special application that you have already installed. And for Django, it will be just 8000 by default. So let's open our PyCharm and see what the project is look like. Okay, so we are inside the PyCharm and I want to go over the important files that are auto-generated when we created our project. Now I'm not going to go over every file because it is a lot of information to cover, so we will cover the important ones. So let's get into the settings file, and basically this file is the configuration file for all of the necessary information in order to deal with the requests to your website and all the security stuff. So if we want to give an example for one of the important variables that are set up here is the debug. Basically, you can see that this is set up to true, and that means that we are going to receive more information about our different errors and warnings while we develop our website. So you want to make sure to turn it to false, for example, if you are going to deploy it on production, because you don't want to show your errors to your customers, right? That doesn't make sense. So there are some more configurations that you can see over here, and basically we are not going to touch this file a lot, and you wanna make sure that everything is proper here and don't touch it if you don't know what we are doing. So if we go to the URLs file will be all the different routes that you are going to create to your website. So for example, if you want to create a route which is going to navigate into a URL with the /home or /about, you want to make sure that you fill this list with that kind of information, and this is a process that we are going to do a lot. Okay, so that will be it for the important files. So I will go back to my terminal and I want to navigate back to our project directory. So I will use cd market, and right after it we want to take some more action over here. And the action is creating a new Django application. Now pay attention to difference between the project, which is all the Django web server, to application. Basically an application is kind of a separator between all the components that you want to write within your website. So let me give you a real life example that might be occur when you see Instagram, okay? So Instagram has a lot of features like stories and regular uploads. And you want to make sure as a developer that you are separating all the algorithms between them in separated directories, meaning separated applications. So Instagram may have an application for stories because it has a lot of different algorithms like make it to be available 24 hours, and this is quite different than a regular upload. You can delete it whenever you want and it will be there forever. So this is why you want to create a new application for your website. And since we are not going to dive into very complex details, we will create only one application. So it will be a command like Django admin. So we will use Django admin again. And this time we will launch start app and then we will name it main. Okay, so this is be the single application that we will create within our website. So let's minimize this back again, and you can see that there is a new directory that is created within our project, and there are some more files that are being auto-generated, and we will cover every one of them just in a second. Okay, so let me go over the files that are created within the creation of the main application. So we will start with the _init. And basically this file is like a convention file that specifies that the whole main directory is a package that the Django project is going to use. So you want to make sure that you don't touch this file at all. And also you can see that there is a file that is called admin.py, and this file will be responsible to fill in information to the auto-generated administrative page. So if you remember at the beginning of this video, I told you that Django has a built-in administrative page that will allow you to customize your information within your website. So this file is going to be responsible for that. And there is also an apps.py file, and this file is like a configuration file that specifies this main directory is an application within our project. Okay, so we are not going to attach the apps.py at all, but we are going to work a lot with the views.py file. And the reason is the views.py file will going to be responsible to deal with the response request architecture. Okay, so we are going to write in Python functions that will be filled within content that we want to display on our pages. Okay, so if you think about a website, when you go into Facebook, basically you are as a client are requesting some information from a web server, and those functions that we are going to create are going to deal with those kind of things. Okay, so this is called views in Django, and we are going to write a lot of code over here. Now, before we go further, I want to create one more file within our application, which is called URLs. Okay, so you want to do that because you can see that there is a URLs file already within the project directory, but it will be more organized to keep URLs file per application. So this will allow us to be more organized when we create some routes. Okay, so what we are going to do now is rendering our first page. Okay, so we are going to visualize our first page and we will give it a URL like home or something like that. So as a beginner, you want to go into URLs that is inside your market directory, and you want to take your first Django action here. Now you can see that there is already a path that specifies that you can go into the admin and it will take you to some URL, and we will see that in the future. But in here you want to make sure that everything that is created in the main/URLs are included to the market/URLs. Okay, so in order to do that, we will use a function that is auto-generated in Django, which is called include. okay? And then we are going to write a code which is going to look something like this. So we will call the path function here once again, and then within that we want to specify that we will include everything that is inside main URLs. So as a route, we will give it here an empty string, and as one more argument, we will specify that we want to include everything inside the main application, and you can do that with opening a new string here and write something like main.urls. And what that line means, it means that it is going to include every URL you create in your main application, okay? And as a convention, you want to make sure that this comma is over here, so the next time that you are going to touch this file, basically you won't have any errors because you can just go and hit enter and write whatever you want, okay? So we will close the market/URLs, and then we will go in our URLs, which is inside the main directory, and write some fresh new code over here. Okay, so within that file we are going to import some built-in Django functionalities in order to create our first path, meaning first route. Okay, so it will be something like from Django.urls import path. Okay, and as you could notice in the previous URLs file, which was inside the market directory, we had a special list that is called URL patterns. So we are going to follow the same convention in the main file as well, and we will go down here and write something like URL patterns, and then make sure that you open a new list. And inside here, everything that you are going to write, which is the path functions, are going to be URLs, meaning paths that are going to be accessible and visualize you some page. So we will create a path, and here are the arguments that you want to pass. So as a beginner, we will create a page which will route to /home, and then you want to point here to the view that you are going to create within your views file. So I will stop here and go back to the view file and show you how you can create a view file. And then basically what we are going to do, we are going to point that view into this URL, and then I will go into my web browser, and then within our URL we will write /home, and we will see our first new page. Okay, so we will go into the views file, and then we will write def homepage, something like that, and you want to make sure that you receive one argument by default, which is also a convention in Django, which is called request. Okay, and here I'm basically going to display a simple hello world text into our new page. So it will be something like a returning HTTP response. And as I said, there are a lot of built-in functionalities in Django, so we will import one more class which is called HTTP response. Okay, so you want to make sure that you write this entire statement over there, and right after it we will return an HTTP response, so it will be something like that. And then within that you can include any string you want, and then this string is going to be like a code of HTML. Okay, so we will create a header which is h1, and then between those we will write hello world, and then we will close our tag. Okay, but now you can understand that this hello world text does not know which URL to navigate itself. So this is why you want to go back to your URLs file, and then here you want to import each view that is inside the views file. So it will be from main import views. Okay, and here I might have done some mistake here, so you want to make sure that you change this into home/, so this is the more proper way to define a new route. Okay, so in here you have to point your view to that home/, so it will be views.homepage, as you can see my auto completion, and you want to specify here some more arguments, and I will give it a name. So the name is going to be quite useful in the future as well, and we will see why in the future. So the last step that you want to take before you navigate into your browser and see the results is going to your settings file, and you want to make sure that your main application is an installed application in your settings file. So you can see that we have a bunch of applications that are already installed by default when we created our Django project. And you can see that we have the admin page and more stuff over here. So we will hit a comma, and then we will write here that we want the main application installed. So it will be main.apps.main.config. Okay, so make sure to write that here as well and leave a comma right after it. Okay, so now I will go to my terminal and I will launch my website, and it will be with python manage.py run server. And as I have done that, you can see that we still receive the URL back, and then we can navigate to our browser and paste that in, and you can see that Django is already being updated with the new URLs that we have created. So this result is quite good because you can see that it did not recognize anything, but it will recognize if you go ahead and press /home. And you can see that we receive our hello world page back. So this is the life cycle of Django when you want to display some new pages. And in order to simulate that, I'm going to display you different presentations throughout this video so it can summarize all the topics that we will cover every certain amount of time. Okay, so I'm in a presentation that is called Django's Lifecycle, and basically after we have learned some new stuff, I'm going to visualize all what we have learned into boxes and draw you some nice architecture in order to explain you what is going on. So at the first stage, we have created a view which is looked like this, and then we pointed it into a URL path which is inside the URL patterns, and this was inside the urls.py file. So this is something that we are going to do a lot in order to come up with more pages, and this is why I like to title it with Django's lifecycle, because this is a process that we are going to repeat a lot, and also we are going to add some more boxes into that lifecycle because we want to create more nice pages, so this requires from us to take some more actions. So let's go back to PyCharm and continue. Okay, so now we are going to take our views into a more advanced level, and besides outputting some HTML like this, we are going to refer this view into a brand new HTML file. Now that makes sense because you probably don't want to put all the HTML of your pages within a one single string because this is going to look up very messy and not nice. So you're probably looking for a function that will allow you to direct your view into a new HTML file, and this is why we are going to use a function which is called render. Okay, now the render function exists in order to render your view into an HTML template. So in order to accomplish that, we will at the very first stage need to pass this request as an argument over here. So this will basically take all the requests that the client makes and will pass it to the HTML template. And the second argument here will be the template name. Now, what template stands for? It basically stands for all the HTML files that you are going to keep in a separated directory in order to keep your project more organized. So in order to give that as argument, I will pass in here something that is called template_name, and within that we will write a string that is called main/home.html. So I know that I did not create any HTML files yet, but basically I'm just putting this argument, and then I will just create the HTML file which is called home.html. So in order to accomplish that, what the views are doing, so the views are by default know to refer to a directory which is called templates. So this is a kind of a prefix or a convention that the Django understands where to look to render its templates. And in order to let Django understand that we want to point this view into the home.html file, there is a convention that forces us to create a new directory within our main directory. So we will go ahead and create a new directory which is going to be named as templates. And then within the templates, we will create one more directory which is going to be the same name as our application. So it will be main, and then within that we are allowed to create our HTML files. So we will go ahead and click here with the right click, and this time we will point into an HTML file. Now if you work with a different IDE, basically you can give it any name you want and then you can put the .html, but it's not necessary to do that with that case because I already have chosen the HTML file. So if I go ahead, you can see that PyCharm automatically gives me some basic HTML template, and I can live with that actually. So let's see if this is going to work proper. So let's go back to our Chrome browser and refresh that page. Now you can see that our page has actually been refreshed. And I can know that because you saw the title of this tab has been changed. So we did a pretty good job to referring this view into a brand new HTML template. Now in order to show my point, we can go ahead and write some more HTML template, and I will explain in a second what is going on in this HTML file. So let me write here hello world rendered, something like that, and see if that works. So I will refresh this page and then you can see the result right there. Great. So when it comes to HTML, you have to specify some tags by default, and you want to specify your head in the very top pane of your file, and then everything that is going to be within your page is going to be inside the body. Okay, so if you want to know further about HTML, you can take some basic tutorials about that, because my main focus is going to be really about the Django. So I'm going to doing a lot of copy paste when it comes to HTMLs. Of course I will do a basic explanation, but I'm not going to go into deeper explanation in HTML because I think that it is a waste of time to focusing on the HTML part. We really want to focus on the logic behind Django. Okay, so the next thing that we probably want to do is giving our page a little bit more style. So if we go to our browser once again, you can notice how this page is just filled with a black text. So this is not quite nice until now. But in order to write style for your HTML pages, we are required to write styles within a tag that is called style. Now, we probably want to avoid that because there are a lot of style frameworks that someone has already have been written for you and you can just import them. So what I mean by that, there are a lot of styling frameworks that lots of companies have already written this bunch of code that will allow you to write more flexible and nice looking HTML pages. So in order to import one of those frameworks, we need to go to Google and search for one of them, and we are going to use the framework that is called Bootstrap. Okay, so if you go to Google and search for Bootstrap, you want to go inside that getbootstrap.com, and then within that page, let's make that a little bit bigger, you want to press to get started. Now pay attention to the version that I'm using. If it is too small, I will just read it to you. So it is v4.542. So it might be a great idea to use the same version as I do as well. So let's click get started, and you can see that there is a documentation for all the styling that you can give to your page. Now there is something that is called starter template, and basically what it does, it is already importing all the bunch of code that I discussed a few minutes ago, which will allow us to give nicer style to our pages. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is copy everything from this starter template, and I'm going to go back to my home.html, and I'm just going to paste in everything here. So you always want to make sure that those lines over here are here, and also this one. So this is going to import the CSS, which stands for Cascade Style Sheet, and that is what I talked about, which is all the styling. And also there is something called JavaScript scripts like jQuery, popper.js, and so on. And those are actually being important because of the functionality that you want to apply to each page. Like when you press a button, it will take some action, or when you press a drop down, it will actually show you the drop down and stuff like that. So you always want to keep those lines in your templates, and also this line in your template, okay? And also there are some meta required arguments as well, I mean tags, but we are not going to touch them at all. So if I go back to my page over here, let's make that smaller, and I refresh it, you can see that the font has been already changed, and also you can pay attention how the title of my tab has been changed as well. So this is quite nice to having this automatic styling, and this way we don't have to deal with styling at all. Okay, so if we go back to our presentation for a second, you can see the difference between the code here to what I showed you previously. Basically now we are pointing into a new HTML template, and we are not writing our HTML within a string, and that means that we have one more box within this lifecycle. So now not only that we have to create a view and point it into a new URL, we also have to decide which HTML file we want to point this view. So this is an important point to understand because this lifecycle is going to get more complex very soon. So let's close this and go back to Python. Okay, so we will go back into our home.html very soon, but before that I want to make one more HTML file. So I have to repeat all the Django lifecycle that I showed you a minute ago all over again. So in order to do that, what I want to do this time is actually starting to display some items in my website. So if you remember, we want to simulate a shop that we can buy some products in it. So we will create a new view and we will call it items page, okay? And then we will receive the request as an argument. So we will this time going to render again like we did previously, and that time we will write request here as well, and our template will be different that time. So we will write items.html, and let's just go back to our URLs file within the main directory and point this view into a new URL. So we will open our URL directory, I mean file, then we will write here path, and then this time we want to navigate it into an items route, it makes sense, and let's hit the comma here. And now we want to specify here views.items page, as this is the name of the view that I just created, and that time our name will be items. Now we will also add a comma over here, and let's go into our templates directory and create a new HTML file. So it will be right click, new, and then HTML file, and this time we want to call it items. Now you can see the auto-generated HTML once again, and we will take some action in order to have the items being displayed over here. So what we are going to do is go back to our views file, and we want to generate some item objects. Now the way we can do that in the first place is for sure within a dictionary that is going to include some key values, and we will have a bunch of them in our views. So this way we can send this information into the HTML file, and then we can call it from the HTML file by a special language that we are going to show in a minute. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is pasting a list of dictionaries. Okay, so this way we could have some items that we can pass into our HTML template. Now, once I paste it, you can see that we got two dictionaries with the same key names, okay? So both of them having the name and the price. Now, before I go further, I want to show you where did I get this code from. So you can navigate to my webpage, and it is gymshapecoding.com. Inside that, you can go into courses and pick the Django Market Shop. This will lead you to all the courses, all the videos within this course. Now, since there is only one long video, then you have to just press over here, and then you can navigate into code files, and you can see that I have already uploaded some of the codes that we already have done the process of copying and pasting for it. So basically you can go to items dictionary and grab this code from here. Okay, so I will upload each of the files that I'm using copy and paste for them. So as we have done that, I want to show you how you can pass the information to an HTML template. So this time it will be a new variable that is called context, and this context is going to accept a dictionary within it, and then as a first argument of this dictionary, the key, you want to name it as the name you want to use it in the template itself. So here basically we always want to keep our key as the same as the value. So here we will write something like items, and that will be equal to items that I'm referring to this one. Okay, so basically what I have done here is just say to that HTML template, okay, so I want to work with this dictionary within my HTML template and make sure to include it with a variable name which is called items. Okay, so this is all I have done over here, so we can do that with the context argument. And now I can go to my items.html and access all this information from the template itself. So let me show you how. So in the first phase, we just want to show it, okay, and then we will deal with all the styling. There is a special template language that we can use within our HTML files, which is called Django Template, and it is actually a little bit complex, but you want to follow this in and being focused here, so it might be a little bit confusing, but don't worry, you will get it in a second. So what we want to do is basically hitting the brackets twice, and then we can access here the sent information from the view itself. So if I go here and write items, basically this will be enough to see the entire dictionary in our items page. So let's check that out. Okay, let's go into our web browser again, and then we will go back to the homepage and we will change it to items because this is the URL that we rendered. And you can see that this dictionary is being shown over here, but for sure we want to make this visualization a little bit more pretty. So as you can refer to the context within double brackets like this, you can also use some logic like Python over here. So let me show you what I mean by that. So this time I'm going to use the percentage sign, okay, and then I will close it like this. And let me show you what I'm doing here. So when you see this tag, what that means, it means that you can put here code like Python, but not kind of, but basically you can write some logic over here. So here you can go basically and do a for loop like you do in Python. So let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, so we will write here for item in items because this is the dictionary that we passed, okay? And then within that, we will write some code. So in order to close your for loops, we need to call this code block again and then write here and for. And between that, we can access our information like in regular Python code, okay? And then you can also put in some HTML code over here. So let's try that out, okay? I will print some h1, which is a big header, and then within that, I will call the variable type again, and here I will write item. So just to differentiate between the two styles that we saw. So if you see the percentage sign and then the curly bracket, it is basically a logic code, and if you see the curly brackets twice, it is basically a refer to a variable that has been passed, okay? So now if I go ahead and refresh my page, you can see that now we have looped over our dictionary, and then we just printed each of our dictionaries within the h1 tag. So we are going to use those statements a lot, and I just want to make sure that you understand the logic here, because I remember myself seeing this in the very first time and I was like, wow, what is going on here? What did I just watch? Okay, so I really want you to absorb the information that I just told everything about it. Okay, so I want to show you kind of a problem that we have on our website. You can see that if we navigate into our homepage, you see that it includes all the Bootstrap styling. So you see that this font is way different than that one. So this is happening because we made the necessary calls into the Bootstrap library within the home file, but we did not do that within the items.html file. But it can lead us into repeating our code, and this is not necessary. So in order to overcome this, Django has some utilities that will allow you to create a base template, and then this base template is going to be used in all of your HTML templates. So in order to do that, we have to create one more new HTML file, I mean HTML template, and then we will kind of import everything that is going to be within that HTML template. So it is a convention to name this HTML template base, all right? Because this is the base, this is going to be the base for each HTML template. Now, a great example of that kind of situation could be also for navigation bars. So if you go to your page again, you want to make sure that the HTML code to write some navigation bar will be included in each of your pages. So you don't want to repeat your code because it is just not nice, okay? So you always want to avoid repeating yourself. So I will go within our main directory and I will create one more HTML file which is called base. Now I'm going to grab some new HTML code for that, so I will go back to the Chrome, and then within our course I added a new file which is called base.html, and simply you can copy everything from here into your HTML template. Now I want to talk about this div tag here because this is the only difference between this to the one HTML file that we imported from the Bootstrap get started page. So when you deal with HTML and with Bootstrap, you are going to give a class name for each of your tags, and this is because each of those classes are containing some styling for each of the tags that you want to create. So if you go ahead and create a div tag and then you name your class container, this is going to include all of your content in a centralized pane. So let's give an example of that. If we go here and maximize this out, you can see that our content is starting from the very centralized position, and in most of the websites you want to avoid that because most of the websites design their web pages and the content is actually starting from the very centralized area, okay? So you want to start all of your content from like here where my mouse points. So this is what class container takes responsibility for. So this is why I have created this tag. Okay, so now that I have created that, let's go to one of our files and actually import this base file. So we will go to our homepage and we will delete everything from here, and besides that we will call a code block, which we already know how to do that. So curly bracket and then the percentage sign and then the same for the closure, and then we want to write here a code which is going to look like extends, and we want to call here a string, and we want to extend the main/base.html template. Okay, so the reason I'm doing this, it is because I want to include everything inside the base.html in my home.html. Okay, so this is the reason that I'm doing that. Now we are going to work with the home and the base file together. So what I want to do in order to give you a better experience, I want to split this window into two. So you can go and do that if you use PyCharm with window editor tabs, and then you can use the split vertically, and then in the right pane we will have our home.html, and then in the left pane we will have our base.html. So I will allow myself to make that a little smaller and continue from here. So basically we have the home.html that extends, so this kind of imports everything from the base.html file. Now I want to show you what happens until now if I go into my browser and navigate to our homepage. Now you can see that we don't have anything yet because we just extend the base HTML template, but it does not have any HTML text that is written. So let's go inside our div class container and write here some text like homepage. Okay, so that will be enough. Now I have written this in the base.html, so it is important to realize that. I will make that a little bit more bigger. Now I will go back to here, and you can see that the homepage is right there, and now you can understand the difference to putting such a tag within the div class container, because it did start from here and not from the very left position. Now I will open the items.html and put it over here as well, and I will delete everything from here, and I will also extend the base within the items.html. So it will be once again extends main and then /base.html. Okay, and now I will navigate to the items, and then you can see that this also displays homepage. So this is a problem, and we kind of don't use the benefit of base file. So we don't always want to display homepage. Okay, so in order to make this unique per page, we need to take some more special action within our base file. So let's show that. So I will make the base file a little bit bigger, and then within our class container I will write a code block, and this will going to look something like this. So we can give here some new code which is named block. Okay, and this block is actually an area that you mark it as being unique per template. So let's show what this is about. Okay, so block, this is something that I wrote until now, and then I will name it content. Okay, so you can name your blocks, and then we want to close our block. So we will do that with end block. Okay, and now since I have done that, what I earn by doing this is something like this. So I will extend these items back, and then I will do the same action over here. So we will use the block content here again, and then we will close it like we did in the base. So end block. And then anything that you are going to put here is going to be included like you put it over here. So you earn the unique that you wanted, because now you can go into items.html, and then you can write here something like h1, this is the items page. And then you can go to your home.html and do the same action. But before we do that, let's go to our Chrome again and see the results. Now, if you remember, this is the items page, and if I refresh this, you can see that this shows me this is the items page. And if I go to the home, you can see that this does not show anything because we did not create our block content within our home.html. So what the block does, it does give a special area that is marked as a dynamic area where you can basically call it within your specific HTML templates, and then you can write a unique HTML code within your template. So let's show that one more time. Okay, so we will go to our home.html, which is basically just extending the main base HTML. And then over here, we will create a block that is called content because we want to refer to that content over here. And then we will write here again, block content. Now I want to avoid copy and paste here because as you keep copying and pasting code, your mind does not kind of getting what you are doing. So I want to avoid that for you. And I will write here again end block like that. And then, sorry, let's change that to percentage. And then here I can write something like h1. And here we can go with this is a home page. Okay. And once I have done that, we can go back to our homepage, and then you can see that the effect has been taken, and that is quite great. Okay, so this is how you organize your templates within Django. You grab a base template, and then each one of your templates that you want to use, you are extending the base.html, and then you go ahead and create your blocks. And within each of the block, you can use unique HTML that is going to be unique for that specific HTML template. So this is also something that we are going to use a lot throughout this tutorial. Now I want to repeat this exact process to achieve something else. So this will also give you like kind of a second chance to understand everything from scratch. Okay, so we will go to our base.html and we will mark the area between the title tags as a blocked area. And the reason I want to do that is because if I go ahead and write here something like title, and then let's put some dashes here so we can understand the difference. Now if I go and refresh this, you can see that this appears right here, and if I go to items, the same title for that tab is right there, and I want to avoid that. So in order to avoid that, we can mark this area as blocked area, and we are going to name it title. Okay, so block title, and then we will close our block within the end block statement, and let's just enter here so we can understand. And now I can go back to my home.html and actually repeat the exact same process. So we will call the block title, then we will close it, and then we will also add the end block like this, and then between here we can write home page. And actually we can go with something nicer here, which is going to look like gym shaped coding market dash homepage. Okay, and let's just make it a little bit shorter, so we will go with JSC and then dash homepage. So now if I refresh this, actually I want to refresh it on home, so you can see the difference, and this is right here. But for items I did not change anything, so I will copy everything from here and go back to the items.html and paste that in, and that time I want to write here items. Okay, so now let's check the difference between those two. So I will enter the items, and then you can see the JSC market dash items over here. So this is how we are going to write HTML within our HTML templates, and this is quite useful. It might be a little bit complex at the very beginning. I admit that I did not understand anything, and I kept watching a tutorial in order to understand that twice or even 3 times. So you want to consider to do that as well if you did not understand everything properly. So before I close the base.html, what I want to do is creating one more area that will allow me to customize it in the future templates. So we will go under the body tag, and then we want to do that above the container, which I mean the div which has the class of container, and we want to create here one more block, and I will name it page header. So block page header. Then we will close our block, and the reason I am doing this, it is because I want to have the choice to display some HTML tags within our header and within our container. So the container is like this area, and the page header is going to be like this area, because this is the entire body. So the HTML, I mean the information, will start from the very left position. So I just wanted to create one more block over here, and then I will allow myself to close the base.html and work with home again. So it's actually mixed up here or something. Okay, so we will work with our home file a little bit more. Now we want to create a real looking homepage. Okay, so I already have some code that is ready for that, and we want to paste that within our page header block. So we will call it, and we will write here block page header, and then we will also close it with end block like this. You know what, actually I want to consider changing the orders here, so we will grab this and take this into here, then we will paste that right there. So we want to have title, page header, and then the content itself. So that time I will go to the website, and then here we will use the homepage header HTML code. So I will copy this, and then we will print it inside our page header block. Okay, so this will be responsible to having a nice looking homepage header, which will explain what this web page is about. Okay, so you can see that we also have some more div tags here, and you can see that it has a lot of classes, I mean a lot of styling, in order to create this good looking HTML object that I'm just going to show you in a second. So let's see the result of that. Okay, so again, you want to make sure that you paste it inside your blog page header. And if I go here and then navigate into our home page, you can see that we almost got the same page that I showed you in the very beginning of that video. And for now, I want to delete everything from my content. So if I go ahead and erase everything from here, this should do it. And then I can refresh that, and you can see that I got a nice title and kind of a nice header for my homepage already. But if I press to get started, currently nothing happens. And the reason is because you got to go into a tag which is called A. Basically, the A stands for a tag that is referring you to another page. And if you see that tag, you must search for an argument or a variable that is called href. So the href will be responsible to redirect you to the page that you want to. So if you press to that button, it will actually lead you to the page that you want. And you can also see that this is the button because it has a class that is called button, and the btn is the shortened way in Bootstrap for that. And you can also see that its HTML text is get started, and that makes total sense because this HTML text here is get started as well. So here we want to call a block of code as well. So we can go here and go with something like /items, but we want to avoid that because if you refresh it and press here, it actually takes you to the items page. But if I'm deciding to change that route in the future, you don't want to code this hard-coded. So besides that, you want to call a code block, and then within your code block, you want to call in here a built-in function which is called URL, and then it takes an argument of the name of the view that the name of the URL that you want to point it. So let's just show you what I want to point this href to. So I will go back to my urls.py file, and you can see that each of our routes having a name. And you remember how I told you that the name is going to be quite useful in the future? So this is the reason, okay? This is the reason that the name argument is quite useful when you create some paths. So you want to go back to your home.html, and you want to complete this code block within passing the items as a string. And then it will take you automatically to the items URL. So just pay attention that you don't want to make a mismatch between double quotes and then within the single quotes. So just make sure that you keep it as double quote and then the content here you keep with single quote. Now if I save this and go back to my homepage, let's test that out. So I will click here, get started, and you can see that it still navigates me to that items URL, even though I did not specify the /items, only I called the URL function. So this is a quite nice achievement that we are going to repeat also in our future templates. So we will now create our navigation bar that is going to be included on each of our pages. Now we are going to do that within our base file as well, because if you remember, our base.html is going to be in each of our templates that we are going to create. So we can go to our website and copy some HTML code that will allow us to use the navigation bar as we want. So if you pay attention, I am inside a file that is called navigation bar, and I'm going to copy everything from here, and I will go very shortly about what is inside that HTML code. Now I may decide to copy this over here, but if I do this, it kind of gives me a feeling that this file is going to be a little bit not clean, so I want to avoid that. And the way you can avoid this kind of thing, so I just deleted everything with undo, is creating a new HTML file and import it. Now, this is not like extending an HTML template, so importing is like, you know, importing a code that is just going to be here. So it will be necessary to go into our main directory and create one more directory, which I will call it includes. So here we will include small HTML files, and those are files that are going to be included into our base file, and then once we launch template like home or items that we extend them over there, this is going to collect that navigation bar as well. So let's go ahead and create a file that is called navbar, and pay attention that this navbar is inside the includes directory. Okay, so we will delete everything from here and paste our navigation bar over there. Now, before I actually import it within our base file, let me give you a quick overview what is going on here. So we use the nav tag, which stands for navigation bar, and then within that we have a list of elements that each one of them stands for an option that you can click within your navigation bar. And for example, one of them will be an A tag, which is including the text of gym shaped coding market, and you can already see that it points to a URL which is called home. So this is okay with me because it makes sense that when you press to logo of your page, then it redirects you to the home of your page. So it kind of makes sense. And this is what is going on over there, okay? And within our div, which is there, we have two more lists. So this is called a shortened version of unordered list in HTML, and then within that we define our lists, so it is being translated into navigation bar elements. So you are going to see how it is looking like just in a second, and you can see that we point one of those into home and the second one into items. Now what I'm going to do is going back to my base and use here a code statement which is going to look like this. So this time I will call a function which is called include, and basically it is like putting all the HTML code here. So this is what include does. So I will navigate within my string into main/includes, and then I will paste in here navbar.html, and this will be responsible actually to put my navigation bar over here. And if you remember, the home and the items are extending the base template, so we expect to see the navigation bar in both of those pages. So let me go back to the page and refresh that out, and then you can see that our navigation bar is right there, and it does not matter if I go to homepage, this will still be there. So this is quite nice, and Now things are starting to look more fresh and clean, so this is a quite good achievement. Now if I press here, you can see that it redirects me into home, and if I press to items, you see that it takes me to the items page, which we did not currently edit yet because we did not customize our information of items yet, and we are going to do that just in a second. So let's go back to PyCharm and continue. Okay everyone, so like I told you, now I want to focus a little bit on how you can create a maintainable data, and we are going to do that in the next few minutes. So you can guess that we don't want to store our information within a Python code that is inside our views, right? Because that is just not maintainable. So in order to overcome this, Django delivers us a file which is like a database, which is the db.sqlite3 file, which is inside our project directory. Okay, now databases are normally engines or services that have to be installed on large servers, but SQLite3 overcomes it with storing a maintainable information within just a single file. Now in order to create a data that will be more friendly to write it, Django comes with something that is called ORM. ORM is Object Relational Mapper, and basically it allows you to store maintainable information within Python code. And what allows that is the Django Models. Now models are special classes that you have to create them, and once you create them you can create instances of them, and then their instances are going to be stored within a database that you can manage successfully. Now in order to show you that in a more visualized way, let me take you to a quick presentation so we can understand what I just said more clear. Okay, so I'm inside a presentation that is called Database Overview. It will be a short overview of how databases are looking in general, and then we will discuss how we can turn them into a Python class, which is the Django models that I talked about. So normally databases are looking something like the following. Okay, so we got a lot of tables within our database, and each of the tables are going to have their fields. So in our case, we want to store some items within our website. Then it makes sense to create a table that is called JSC market items, and then give it a two fields, which one of them could be name and the second one could be price. And then you want to fill in some rows, meaning information that is going to describe each of the fields. So as the first one we have the name of phone, and then it continues on until the last row over here, which is the table, and then the price of that is $150. Now if you want to translate it into a Python code, I mean a Django model, then you probably got to write something like this. Okay, so we have a class here which is called item, and then we have name and price, which are a models.carField instance. So that means that we have special type of fields that we can store within our databases. Okay, and what allows us to convert a database information into a Python model, I mean Django model, it is a process that is called Object Relational Mapper. Now what Object Relational Mapper or ORM allows us, it allows us to write our tables directly into a database, and then we can create a maintainable data within our database. So we are going to see how we are going to do that in a second. So what we are going to do is creating a model, which is like creating a class with some inheritance of it, and then we will create two fields, just like we do when we create a database table. And then this special object relational mapper process will allow us to store this model directly into a database, and then we will see how we are going to fill in some information within our table. So let's go back to our PyCharm. Okay, so I'm back in my PyCharm, and we already understood that storing an information inside a list of dictionaries is quite not a good idea. So I'm going to erase everything from here, and because I want to avoid all the errors, I will also get rid of the context over there, and then we are not going to use the HTTP response anymore, so I will delete that one as well. Now I'm going to go over a new file that we did not deal with that yet, which is the models.py, which is going to be inside our main application. So we will open that up, and then here we will create our modules that are going to be stored later within our databases. I mean within our database file, which is db.sqlite3. So the way that we are going to do this is by creating a model. And the way you create a model is going to be like creating a class which is going to import from a model class. So we will create a class, and it makes sense to call it item. And then within the inheritance, we will write models.model. And then here within our class, we want to create some fields that could make sense to store them, like name and price and stuff like that. So as a beginner, we will start with name, which is going to be equal to a field which is a character kind. So when it comes to databases, there are a lot of variable types that you can store any information. Just like in code, you have booleans, integers, strings, and stuff like that. So does have the databases. So we will write here that it is going to be a char field, and then within that we have some necessary arguments that we must pass here. So one of them could be max length. And what max length stands for? It stands for how long your character is going to be. So we want to limit that in order to avoid large storing of information. And I will write here 255, something like that. Okay? And then we will go and create one more field. But this time we don't want this field to be a character or any kind of string. So I will call models.integer field and just close it out like this. And I'd like to create two fields here, and the next two will be description. So we could have a nice paragraph that describes the item, and I will give it an argument of, I will make that to be equal to car field as well, but at this time I want my maximum length to be something like 1024. So we want to describe our items in our market shop. And then the last field will be image underscore URL. Now this is also going to be equal to a car field, and I will give it a max length of 512, something like that. Now if you're already familiar a little bit about Django, you're probably asking yourself, Jim, why didn't you use image field? Now the reason is I don't want to get into an image field because that might be a long process that I don't think we have time to cover, because I don't want to throw a bunch of information, in order to not mess your minds up. So we will just directly point our items images into a URL which is going to be stored as image. But there is a special option which is called image field, which will store the image itself within your database and not the URL that it points to. So if you want to check it out, I recommend you to go to Django documentation and look for the image field. So that will be it, and I think we don't want to customize our model anymore, but we have to now do a little bit step that will grab this item and then it will turn it into a database table within our db.sqlite3 file. So in order to do that, I will open my terminal and I will also open the directory of our project in order to show you that stuff is going on behind the scenes of the db.sqlite3 file. So let's check out what is going on inside our db.sqlite3 file. Now currently there is no information stored our file, and I can prove you that by going into properties of it, and you can see that the size of that file is 0 bytes, so it means that it does not contain any information. Now I will close that out and we will check the properties of this file after we actually grab our module and turn it into a database table. Now behind the scenes there are a lot of database tables that Django has already created for us in the background, but we did not grab all of them and put them inside our table, because in order to do that you have to call a process which is called migration. So like I said, Django has already been set a lot of tables like the users table and stuff like that, but we did not migrate them towards our database. So in order to prove you my point, I will launch our website for a minute. So we will run manage.py run server, and then you can see that we got some warnings, and one of them is you have 18 unapplied migrations. Now what that means, it means that Django has set for you 18 tables in the background in order to give you a better management of your website, but you did not migrate them into a database table. So we will control break our website and we will clean our terminal for a second, and we will write something like Python manage.py migrate, and what that command will do, it will grab all the 18 migrations that are set by default from Django and it will turn them into a database table. So when I run that out, you can see that we receive logs such as applying, and then we got some database table names and all of their status are okay. So now I will allow myself to go back to our file explorer, and then we will check the properties of db.sqlite3 again, and you can see that we got some stuff moving and the size of that got much bigger. Now it will also get bigger as long as you keep storing information inside our database table, but we will show that in a few minutes. So let me close that out and go back to our terminal. Now in order to give a Django a clue that a new model has been created and you want to turn it into a database table, you have to grab all the migrations and run a command which is going to look like Python manage.py make migrations. So it will get ready all the migrations or all the tables that you want to get to store within your database. So once I run that out, you can see that Django recognized a new model that has been created. And if you want to turn it into a database table, you are going to run the same command that we run just a minute ago. So it will be Python manage.py migrate, and this command will grab all the made migrations and turn them into a database table. So when I run that out, you can see that it applied the new table which came from create model item. Okay, so now I'm actually having a table with all these fields stored within our SQLite3 file. And now we are probably curious how we are going to store information inside that table. So in order to show you that, we will go and launch our admin page. Now, like I told you at the beginning of this video, an admin page is a special page that Django delivers by default, and it will allow you to add some data inside your tables and remove and customize, edit and stuff like that. So it is a very cool page that I really like. So let's get into the administrative page. Okay, so we are inside our web browser, which is our website, but we want to launch our server again because this is a session that is left from the previous run. So we will go with Python manage.py run server, and then we will navigate inside a URL that has been created for us, which is the admin page. Now, in order to log in to our administrative page, we have to create a super user, and basically a super user is the user that is going to have all the permissions to customize your data. So you will go back inside your terminal and we will pause our site for a second. Let's clean everything, and now we will run a command which is going to look like Python manage.py create super user altogether. Okay, so that will start creating a user that will have all the permissions. So if you want to leave it like your host name's username, then you just gonna press enter. So I'd like to make that JSC, and then you wanna provide here your email address, and then make sure to make that over 8 characters and include at least one capital character. So I will set up my password, and then I will log in to my administrative page. Now here, don't forget to raise your website again. So Python manage.py run server, and then it will start our server again. And then we will refresh our page. And now I can log in with the super user that I just created. So it will be JSC, and then I will write my password. And then you can see that we are inside our Django administration page. Now you can see that there are already default modules that Django has created for us, and you can see that there are inside our Django administrative page. Now I can navigate inside our users, and you can see that we have an information about our users in our website. So we only got one user because we did not create more, and the user that is existing here, it is just the super user that I have created a minute ago. So you can navigate through the different data types, which you also have groups that you can contain users with that. But now you can notice that the item module is not inside our Django administrative page. So in order to grab the module and register it inside our administration page, we have to go back to our PyCharm, and then we got to enter inside our admin page, and then here we need to register our modules inside our administrative page. So we need to import all of our modules, and then we need to register them inside our administration page. So it will be from main.modules import everything. So I will allow myself to do here wildcard import, because if you are going to make in the future more modules, then you probably want to register every one of them. So within our admin.py file, I will call a method which is inside the admin library, and then we will write .site and then .register, and then here I will just provide the name of our module, which is item. And now I will allow myself to go back to our admin page, and then if I refresh this, you can see that a new information has just been added, and you can see the title of main, which stands for our application name, and then Python recognizes that we have only one module, which is quite makes sense. And then I will go inside our item, and here you can start creating your maintainable information. So I will press here add item, and then you can see that all of our fields which we provided within our module are right there. So let me create one row here. So we will create one item, and then we will call it iPhone, for example, and then its price will be set to $249, and then as a description we will write this is a nice description, this is a nice phone. And then within our image URL we will leave it blank for a second, so I will just write something that is not quite making sense now, but I will change that in the future with a real URL which is going to redirect it into an image which is going to be uploaded to some cloud or something like that. So I will press save, and then you can see that we already have an object of item, so this is quite cool. But what I don't like about that is that the item is not visualized to you with a friendly name, so you probably want to override this kind of display. So the way you can do that is by going back to your model, and then within here you wanna override the $str method, and then this will customize the way that the object has been shown to you. So it will be return self.name, and then that way it will just give you the name of your item, which is making a lot of sense. So I will go back to our admin page and we will refresh that out, and then you can see that it is being shown in a more friendly way, and this is quite nice. Okay, so I'd like to add some more items here before we move on. So let me add the URL of the image for the iPhone. So we will go back to our website, and I have already added some image URLs for the different products. So please go and see the different URLs. So we will go to our iPhone image URL, and then we will copy that URL and paste that out over there, and then we will save it, and then we will add one more item, and then we will give it the name of screen. Let's give it a price of $2.99 that time, and then we will have a description. This is a nice and large screen, something like that. Then we will go to our website again and grab the image URL for screen. Now I'm going to repeat that for the other two products, which are laptop and the Galaxy phone. So let me add two more items here quickly. Let's give it the name of laptop and make that price. And this is a nice, cool laptop for that. And then the URL for laptop, let me go over here and then grab that out. Okay, so the last item will be Galaxy. So let's call it Galaxy phone. Then the price for that will be something like this. And then this will be phone like the iPhone, something like that. And then the image URL, we will copy that one, this one. Okay, so let's copy that and then paste it over here and continue. Okay, so we have 4 items within our database, and as we have completed that, we are looking for a way to display this information within an HTML template. So I will go back to our PyCharm, and I'm inside my views.py, which we left it like this. So we only rendered the home, which is the home page, and then the items page that it renders the items.html. So here we are looking for a way to grab all the objects of the item model, and we are going to do that with that way. So we will import the item module. So it will be main.models import item, and we can also do a wildcard import here, but this is the only model that we are going to work with, so I will just do it like this. And then I will go inside our items page view, and we are looking for a method that will give me all the objects of item. So it will be item.objects.all, and we probably want to store all the objects within a variable which is called items. So I will do something like that, and I want to pass this information to our rendered HTML template. So we will write here a new context, and then this context is going to be equal into a dictionary, which is going to be something like this, and we already understand what is going on here because we have already done that previously. Okay, so as we completed that, we are looking for a nice way to display all of the items within our items.html page. Now, the way that you want to do this, you want to go over your template, which is items.html, and let me open that out. And we are probably looking for a way to iterate over all of our items in order to make this site a little bit dynamic. So let me first get rid of the h1 here, and I have already an HTML template that is quite ready, which is going to allow us to display a nice looking table. So as I deleted the h1 here, I will navigate inside our website, my original website, and then we will go here and grab the items table HTML. And right after I will paste this within our template, I will explain what is going on here. So we have a special HTML template, tag, which is called table, and that is just going to display a table within our page. Okay, and then this table, it is going to accept a T head and then a T body, which stands for table head and then table body. Now, as a table head, I decided to go over here and then add some table headers, and the first one will be a identifier number that is going to describe the number with an unique number of that, so like first, second, third, and stuff like that. And then we also have 4 more headers that all of them are necessary. So the first one is name, image, and price. And right now I did not include a header for a description, and you will see why in a few minutes, but I also have included one more field within our table, which is options. Now within the options we are going to provide some buttons to take special actions within each of our items. And now you can see that we have the table body, and each of the table body is including a table data, and that stands for all the data that you want to provide inside your table. So let's go to our items page and see what this looks like. So we will go to our website, and then let's get here, and then we will navigate inside our items page, and you can see that we have a nice table that has some headers like name, image, price, and options, but we did not fill in any information here yet. And this area is actually your table's body. So this might be a good idea to iterate over our items and then display all of our items inside our table body. And we are going to do that just in a second. So let me go back over here, and then inside our table body we will call a block of code, and then it will be something like this. So we will call the for loop, and then it will be for item in items. As you remember that we have the items as a context, which includes all the item objects, and then we will close our code block with end for. And then what we probably are looking to do is grab all this HTML expression and then put that inside our code block. So it makes sense to iterate over it, because it will just keep filling our table within the item objects. So let me just customize the indentation for here. Now a good point for HTML, the indentation that I'm doing is not necessary, so it is not any like Python or something like that, but I just want our information to look more nice. Okay, so the table header, which is the first, is going to be the information that you provide within our this side of table. So at that side we are probably looking for a special identifying number, and we have a special field that arrives within each of our models, which is called PK. So this is like a primary key that is being auto generated, and it raises by itself by 1 every time. So if I go here and then I access that field within each of our objects, so I will write here something like item.pk, and then I will go back to our page and then refresh that out. You can see that it automatically started to count each of our 4 items, as you remember that we already have created them within our admin page. So now I will go back here, and then you can see that this line is probably going to be related into that name, because this is the first header and this was the first header within our table body. So I will go here, and within the HTML text I will write here item.name, as this is the field name that we provided. And now I will go back. Then you can see that each of our names are right there, so this is quite nice. And I'm going to repeat the same process within the image and the price itself. So let me go back here and then write here item.image_URL, and then over the 4th line here I will write within the variable name item.price. Okay, but after I write the price, I want to make sure that it includes the $sign, so this will look more realistic. And then I will go back here, and then you can see that everything is quite fine besides the image, because what that does, it does just display the URL of the image and not the image itself. So in order to fix that, we have to take some tricky action in this expression. So let me show you what we are going to do here. So we will erase that, and then we will just press enter to make it look nicer, and then we will call a new tag which is called img, and the img tag is basically a way to display images within your HTML template. And then within our image tag, we have to provide some information. So I'm going to write here alt is going to be equal to an image like a string, and then we will give it some styling in order to not make that image too large. So I will go with style, and then within the strings of style we will write here width and then the colon sign, and then you want to write here 64px, which is the shortened way to pixels. And then we also want to provide the source of our image, and that is where exactly we have to provide our image URL. So it will be src, and then that is going to be equal to our image URL. So we will write here inside item.image underscore URL. So this will be equal to something like that. Okay, so now I will allow myself to navigate back to our page, and then I'll refresh that out, and then you can see that the images has been shown. So this is quite nice and starting to be realistic. So we have all of our items displayed in a table, but we did not customize the options rows yet. So we want to put here some buttons that will allow us to display information about each of the items, and also we want to configure the button of purchasing the item. So we must go back into our items.html and write some more HTML code. Alright, so I'm back at my items.html file, and here I want to just customize the options, and I want to put here two buttons. So I have to go inside my last table data, which is going to refer to that options, and then within that we want to put two buttons, which one of them is going to display more information about the item, and the second one is going to be about to purchase that item. So I have already provided HTML code for this kind of option, and we will go into gymshapecoding.com again, and we will grab this code snippet. So you can see that I already have options for each item HTML, and then I will grab the code here, and then I will paste it between our TD, which is the last table data. So here I have everything, so let me just customize the indentation here. Right, great. So we are going to have two buttons for each of our items. Now let's just see the result to show that everything is okay. Alright, so we have the options for the item, and you can see that if I press here, nothing currently happens. Now we have to target our buttons into that box that we want to display about each of our items. So if you remember from the original website that I showed you in the very beginning, let me navigate there for a second. Now if I press get started, you can see that when I press more info, a box with an information is just being appeared, and you can see that it is unique for each of our items, and we want to style that for the next few minutes. So in order to style that out, there is something in Bootstrap that is called modals. Now let me show you what I mean. So I will go to getbootstrap.com, and then here I will search for something that is called modals, and then here we can see that there are quite examples of how this works. Now you can see that there is a box that is just describing the information about something. Now there is a demonstration of that, so you can see that if I press here, it shows this amazing information about one of the items that you want to display some more information about them. Now you can close this, and this will bring you back to your page. And for that kind of Bootstrap modal, I also have written some HTML code in order to save our time for that. So we will go back into my website, and then we will get into items fading models, modals, and then we will grab everything inside here, and then we are going to kind of direct this button into that Bootstrap modal. So I will show you how you can do this. So we will go inside our includes directory, and you can remember that we have the navigation bar over there, and we will create here one new HTML file, and I will call it items_modals, and here I will just erase everything, and I will paste the code that I just copied a few minutes ago. So here you can see that we got some divs, and you can see that I have already commented the two different HTML divs. So the first one is the more info button, and the second one is the purchase item modal. Now I'm going to focus on the first one, which is the more info. And you can see that the div tag is having an identifier which is called modal-more info. And the way you can connect between a button into Bootstrap modal is going to be on the following way. So in order to simulate that, it might be a great idea to make that split panes again. So I will just split everything here, and on the right pane we will keep our items_modals, and on the left pane I will open our items.html. So here you can remember that we created two buttons, and let me minimize this one and show you this. So this button is about more info, and you can see that there is a data/target which is targeting into a modal which is called modal-more info. Okay, so here what that means, it means that this button is going to search for an HTML element with an identifier name, which its name is modal-more info, and we already have an HTML tag which its identifier name is modal-more info. So this is quite great, but the only thing that we have to do here is including that items_modals HTML within our items.html. So we will go here and we will add an expression which is going to look like a code block, and here we will go with include, and then within the string here we will write main/includes/ again items_modals.html. And now we might expect that when I press this more info, it will target into that modal-more info which is inside the items_modals, which I have already included right there. Okay, so let's navigate back to our page and see the results. Now I will go here and refresh our page. Now if I press into more info, you can see that we have the Bootstrap modal over there, but there is something missing when, there is a problem with each of our buttons. You can see that it is not unique for each of our items. So we want to make that unique for each of our items, and the way we are going to accomplish that is by customizing the data target. So you can remember that our buttons is inside a for loop which is over there, so for item in items, and I want to make our data target unique per each item. So it makes sense to add here something like this. So I will call here the variable block. Let me make that bigger. Okay, so I will call here the variable block, and here after the modal-more info I will add item.pk, and that way each of our model targets will be unique. And now I will bring back the items_modals, and I will do the same change over here. So here I will call the variable block as well, and then I will write here something like item.pk as well, and I should see the results being shown. So I will go back to our website again and I will refresh the page, and you can see that if I press more info I still receive the Bootstrap modal as expected. But the things that are not unique yet is the model title and the model body. So we will close that out and then we will fix that. So we have to search for that model title, and you can see that it is right there, and it makes sense to change it to something like item.name. So this way we will earn the uniqueness that I'm talking about. So I will go back to our web page again and refresh that out, and if you click more info you can see the title has been changed. Okay, so this is quite great. And then we are looking for that model body, and this is where I want to add the item.description. So let me do that as well. So we will write within our variable block item.description. And now we can check the results once again, and you can see that if I click more info, we see this is a nice phone for the iPhone, and I will close that out. And then you can see for the screen, I see this is a nice and large screen. So I earned the uniqueness that I wanted to earn here, and this is quite great. Now I want to repeat myself for the second button as well. So if I go back to our website, you can see that the purchase this item button is not quite unique for each of our items. So I want to change that as well. And the way I can do that is by changing the same arguments of the HTML tags of the second button. So I will go first at the items.html, and I will search for the data target for the purchase this item as well, and I will just add the same expression like here. So let me just copy and paste that out, and then we will navigate back to our items models, and within here I will take the same actions like I did with more info. So here I will add that as well. And we can also customize the title here. So we can write here something like, are you sure you want to buy? And then here we can write item.name. So it will be kind of more unique when we visualize this item. Now you can see that within this div tag, which its class is model body, we are not going to take any special actions here yet, but we are going to code in the future the logic behind purchasing an item, so don't worry about that. But let's check out the results for the second button. So I will refresh that out, and let's see what happens if I press purchase item, and you can see that Galaxy iPhone is right there. So I kind of earned the uniqueness over there as well. Alright everyone, so I hope you are doing well until now, and now we are going to focus on some different topic, which is going to deal with all the authentication for our website. Now you could notice how we did not deal with stuff like login, logout and register to our website, and this is what we are going to do now. So it may force us to create some new URLs and views and stuff like that. But with Django, really all the authentication management is quite easy rather than other web frameworks. So it is going to be a lot of fun to program the login system and then the logout and then the register and stuff like that. So the best way to start will be to create some new paths within our urls.py file. So I will navigate to our URLs file within our main application, and here we will create some new URLs. So the first one will be a URL for login, and then I will navigate it to the views, which is going to be called login page. Now I did not create any of those views yet, but we will create just in a second, and I want to name it login. Okay, so this will be the first one, and the second one here will be logout, and then this will be equal to logout page, and then we will write here name equals logout, just like the previous one, and the third and the last one will be register. Excuse me, not for not including the forward slashes at the end, so this is quite important, so make sure to do that as well. So here we will write views.register page, and then the name of that will be register. So you could see that we received some warnings from the PyCharm IDE, and that is perfectly fine because we did not create our views yet. And this is what we are going to do right now. So we will open our views and we will create them right now as well. So we will write 3 new functions, but we are going to point them to HTML templates that we are not quite created yet. So we might receive some errors here as well, and we will create the HTML templates just in a minute. So def login page, and then this is going to accept the request as an argument here. And then within our login page view, we want to render that to a template that is called login.html. So return render request, and then the template name will be equal to main/login.html. And then here we won't pass any context yet, but we will do in the future. So the next thing will be def logout page. And right there, I don't want to do anything right now, so we will just write pass, and that is fine. And I actually want to change the order here, so I will write here def register page. And now I will just do here return render. Then we will send it to a template that is called register.html. Like this. Okay, so we created our views, and then if we navigate back to URLs, you'll see that the warnings have been disappeared, and that is great. So now we want to create two templates, and the first one will be the login page, and then the second one will be the register page. And then within that HTML templates, we will bring a form that we can sign in with it, and then we can also register with it. So we will navigate to our templates, and then within our main directory, we will create some HTML files. And then it makes sense to call it login. We will just delete everything here. And then we will repeat the same process for our register. And then we will remove everything over there as well. So in the very first line of this page, we want to extend our base HTML template. So it will be code block, and then we will call the extend function. And then we will give it the main/base.html as an argument, and it will just extend everything from our base template. Now, if we go back to our base.html, you can remember that we have three blocks that we created, and that means we have three areas that we can customize within each of our templates. So we will customize the title and the content, because I don't think the page header is necessary for the login and the register pages. So let me go back to the register, and within that we will call our block title, and then here we will write register. Then we will close our block, so end block. And then we will repeat the same process for the content. So I will change this into content, and then I will delete everything from here for now. And I'm going to grab everything from here and paste that into the login.html and simply changing this into login. Now we are going to add some HTML code inside our login and register pages, and we will start with the register page. Okay, so let me close the login, and we will go back to our register. And in order to create a registration with a new account, we have to provide a special HTML tag which is called form. Now this form will know how to take your information and send it into the server side, and then in the server side, meaning in the views.py, we will deal with all the verifications in order to create a new account. So I'm inside my website again, and here we want to search for code snippet which is called register page, register form, and here it is. So when I click, you can see that this changed, and let me make this a little bit bigger, and we want to grab everything from here. So let me copy the entire code here and then go back to our register.html and paste that in. So what this code does, it is providing an HTML form, and we can see now how it is look like. So let's go back to our Chrome browser and make that a little smaller and navigate to our register page, and you can see that it looks like this. It has some form fields that we have to put in order to create our account, and it has username, password, and confirm password fields, and we also already have an account question mark, and then we have a small login button. Now if I press here, it already knows to navigate me to that login page because I have provided the special URL here as well, so you can see that over here. Okay, so its href is redirecting me into the URL of login. But the problem with that is we did not quite set the logic behind the scenes when we are going to press the button create account. And I'm not going to do that because it is just not going to create a new account because we have to handle this in the server side. So in order to deal with that, we have to provide a new request method. And what I mean by that, now, when it comes to websites, there are some special request methods that a client can take. And the most useful request methods that we always doing is the get method. Now the get method is basically a request method that asks for some kind of information, and you will receive this information as a client in a nice styling. But when it comes to changing the actual database in the server side, the request method changes because it is a quite different achievement. So you see there is a difference between displaying all of your Instagram pictures between uploading a picture, right? Because when you go to your profile page, you are doing a get method that will display all of your profile pictures and stuff like that. But when you're uploading a picture, it is a quite different process, and this is why we have to provide here within our form the method equals post. Now what this does, it sends information to the server side, and what that means, it means that we can access this information within our views.py file, and we are going to do that just right now. So we will go into our views.py and we will start taking special actions over there. So here within our register page view, we want to differentiate between get and post methods. And the way we can do that, it is by asking the view if the request.method is get or post. So let me show you that within a Python code. So we will write here if request.method is equals to get, and make sure to keep all the letters capitalized here, and then if it is a get request, then render this main/register page. But we will go down here and we will also add a new if statement here that is going to look like if request.method is equal to post, then we will take some different kind of action. So in order to show you the differences between those two, let me just go here and write here just a print line that is going to say I am a different request method, okay? And then I will leave it as it is. So let me go back to register.html and show you something very important over here. So if I scroll down, you can see that there is a last line within our form tag that says that it is a button and its type is submit. Now what type equals submit does, it just sends a post request and then it expects to send the information that is inside that form. So let's go back to our web page, and now we have different kind of dealing with get request and post request. And if I refresh that page, it is just going to be a get request, so we will see the same results. But if I go ahead and actually trying to create account now, so let's write here something, and I will just write a simple password here. Great, and now if I go and try to create an account, you can see that the view is expected to return something back when its request method is post. And you can see that its request method is actually a post. So we never saw this kind of error before, but this is basically an error that shows you that it does not know where to redirect you after you have done a post request. So in order to fix that, I will go back to PyCharm and into my views.py, and here after I'm printing this, I will redirect the client back to the register page, and in order to do that we have to import one more shortcut. So I will go into the first line and I will import the redirect function. And after I'm printing this, I will go here and return redirect. And then here I will provide the URL name that I want to redirect my client. So in order to redirect to somewhere, we will just give it the URL name and I will redirect it to the register page just for now. Now if I go back to our web page again, let's actually navigate back to register. And now let's try to create an account again. Now you can see it redirected me to that page. But if I go here into my terminal, you can see that we have the output of I'm a different request method, and that arrives from the views, which is from that line. Okay, so here we are going to do now I just noticed that we had a mistake here, so excuse me about that. But it means that in that exact area we are going to deal with the account creation. Okay, so we are going to import special libraries that Django delivers us in order to make the authentication process easier. And we are also going to import some special built-in forms that Django delivers us as well. And you will see why I'm importing this special form just in a second. So let me go ahead to the first lines and import it. So from django.contrib.auth, which is the shortened way for authentication, we will import authenticate like this, and then we also import the login function. And in the future we are going to write the process behind the logout, so we will also import logout for now. Okay, so this is what I'm going to import, and I'm also going to import that built-in forms that I talked about. So it will be in the second line from django.contrib.auth.forms import user creation form. So let me write everything here. Great. So this special class is going to deal with grabbing all the information from the rendered template. And this is quite special because it is necessary when you want to grab all the information from the provided form within the register.html. So it will know how to grab the username, password, and then the password confirmation, because it has some special tags that are called input over there. So we have 1, 2, and 3, and we already saw that in the register page in our website. So let me go back to our views, and right here inside the request.method equals post, the process that is required in order to register some user. And we want to start here within our request.method equals post with a new instance of user creation form, because you remember it is a class that knows how to grab all the information within our register template. So we will go here with form equals to user creation form, and as an argument we will pass all the information that arrives from request.post. So this expression here includes all the information that the client has provided, and we want to make sure that we pass into that user creation form class. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is asking if the form is valid. And you can do that with a special method within the user creation form class that is called is_valid, and that is going to check if your form is valid. So one of the things that it might check is something like if the passwords match or if the passwords are not too short and stuff like that. And then within our if expression we will save our form, and this save method will be responsible to commit the new created user, and it will actually create the user. And then the next thing that you want to do is log in that new created user, because it might make sense to log in the user that has just created a new account. So we will write here something like this. So we want to grab the username, and you can grab that username within the form that the client has just filled with a line like form.cleanedata.get, and then here you will write username. And we want to repeat ourselves with the password as well, so this will be form.cleanedata.get, and then here we will pass password 1. And the reason we add the 1 here, it is because in our register page we actually have two passwords input, and the first one's name is password1, so you can see that from that HTML line, okay, and you can see password 1, then you can see the password 2 as well. So let's go back to views, and here we want to authenticate our user, so it will be user equals authenticate, and then that will be equal to username equals username, and then the password will be equal to password. Okay, so this is what we are doing. We are authenticating our user within that special function. And now I want to log in my user. So we will use the special login function that we imported above here. And then it will be something like login. And as a first argument, we want to pass the request here. And then right after it, we want to pass the object of the authenticated user, and this actual line will log in our user to the website. And then right here it makes sense to redirect our new registered user back to homepage. So the next line here will be return redirect, and then we will redirect him into home. Okay, so this is what we are doing. We are authenticating the new created user, and then we are using the login function, and then once it is run successfully, we are redirecting the user to the homepage. So we want to get rid of the print line here, and we also want to customize here a little bit more. So now I will write here else, and what else stands for? It stands for the negative way of is valid. So if we are executing this code, it means that our form was not valid, and in that case we want to redirect our user back to the register page, and then we will display the errors to the user, and the user will know what went wrong with the registration of his new account. Okay, so let's test the results. We will go to our web browser again, and then we will refresh our page. And here I will try to create a new account. So I will write here gym shaped coding, and then I will provide some password. And then if I go and create account, you can see that I am redirected to the home page. And what that means, it means that all those lines here have executed successfully. And what this also means, it means that we were able to create a new user. Now, in order to check that out, you can navigate to your admin page, and you can see that it already tells me that you are authenticated as gym shaped coding. So what that means, it means the authentication, I mean the creation of the user has run successfully, and that also means that the login has executed successfully because I was authenticated as gym shaped coding. But you can see that I'm not authorized to access the admin page because I'm just a simple user that have created a new account on these special items. I mean on this special market shop website. So I'm not authorized to the admin page. But if I'm going to log in with my super user, you can see that when I navigate to users, now there are 2 users, so everything is perfect. So now we have handled the register part. Now we also want to handle the login part in order to allow a user that has already been registered to log in back. So we will navigate now into our login.html, and we will also grab a kind of a similar form from my website. So I will go back to here and I will search for the code snippet, which is login form HTML, and I will grab everything here and paste that within our blog content within the login HTML template. So this is going to be quite the exact form, and it is going to include only inputs of username and password. Okay, so it is not necessary to write here an input of password confirmation and stuff like that. So if I go back to our web page and go here to register, and if I go back to login here, you can see the differences. Okay, we only have here username, password, and you can also see that this login knows how to navigate to the register page as well. So this comes from this line. Okay, so it navigates to the register page if I don't have an account, and that makes totally sense. And now we are going to kind of repeat ourselves like what we did with the register view. So let's go to views.py and start writing the logic behind how to log in to our website. So in the very beginning, I want to write the conditions which is going to test if the request method is get or post. So we will write here if request.method equals to get, and then we will render the main/login.html if the method is actually get. And I will do different kind of actions if the request.method is post. And this is why I'm going to write here request.method equals post. Okay, so this is another if expression here, and within that if expression we will log in our user if everything is okay and the password is not wrong or something like that. So the way we are going to grab the username and the password is going to be a little bit different than what we saw in the register, and we are going to write here username equals to request.post. So we will able to access all the arrived information from the client, and then we will try to receive the username. Okay, and then we will kind of repeat ourselves with the password. So let me copy and paste that in and change this to password, and then change that to password as well. And then here we want to authenticate our user as well. So if you remember from the register, this is the process that verifies that the information that has been provided is actually okay. So we will go with user equals authenticate, and then we will write here username equals to username. I made some mistake here, so authenticate. Great. And now here we will write password equals to password. Okay, and now I want to check if the user is valid, and the way that I can check that is by checking if the user object is not none. So my next if expression is going to be like the following. So we will write here if user is not none. Okay, so this actually verifies that this user object is filled with some kind of information and it is not equal to nothing. Okay, and if that is true, then I'm going to log in the requested user. So it will be request as the first argument. As the second one, I will provide the authenticated user, and that time I want to redirect my user into the items page, because this makes sense. When I log into some market shop, then I will see its items. Okay, so I will go here with return redirect, and then here I will write as an argument items. Okay, but I also want to take some different action if the user is actually equal to none. So it will be else, and here I will just redirect my user back to the login page, and later on we will see how we can provide some message to the user what is wrong with the provided information when he tried to log in. Okay, so let's test that out, and we will go back to our website and we will try to log in. Okay, so we will use the Gym Shaped Coding account that I created previously, and we will try to sign ourselves up. So let's try it, and then you can see that it went successfully, and I'm now inside our items page with a new authorized user. Now I know that we don't have a friendly information about if the login has been successful or not, but we are going to program that very soon. Okay, so now that we have completed the login and register system, we probably want to provide the user some more information about from where he can log in or register. Because if you pay attention, our navigation bar does not include any information about where the user can register or log in from. So we will go back to my website and grab a code snippet that will do the addition of this kind of information. So we will go and scroll down here, and we will search for a code snippet that is called Navbar user information HTML. And we will grab everything from here, and then from here we will go to navbar.html, and you want to paste that between this unordered list, which its class is called navbar-nav. And what this is going to do, it is going to locate those two buttons within the very right page of your navigation bar. Okay, so let me fix the indentation for a second, just for comfort reasons. And you can see that we have two new links inside our navigation bar, and one of them is the login that for sure redirects our user to the login page, and same with the register. So as I have done that, I expect to see this kind of addition in each of our templates, because you remember that the navbar is imported in our base.html, which is right there. Okay, so we will close those out, and then we will go back to our website, and then we will refresh, and then you can see the addition of login and the register right there. So let me click to log in, and then we can basically log into our website, and we also can register to our website. But there is one problem with that addition, and the problem is we probably don't want to display to our user that is already logged in those two buttons. So in order to avoid that, we are going to take some tricky action within our navbar.html. Okay, and we have the ability here to check if the user is already authenticated. So we will use some code blocks within our navbar template, and this way we can overcome the problem that I just specified. So within our UL class navbar-nav, we will go and hit enter, and here we will call a code block like this. Okay, make sure to not make spaces there. Great. So by default, the user object is being passed as a context, and we can access it. Okay, so we can write here an if expression that is going to look like if user dot is authenticated. Okay, so this will check if the user has already been logged in to our system, and we also want to provide here the else statement, and we also want to close our if here with end if. Okay, so I don't remember if we have created if statements within our HTML templates, but the way you do that is by the following. So if this is true, you want to put some HTML code here, and if it is not true, and if it is going to enter the else statement, you want to enter here. So it makes sense to display to our user the login and the register options if the user is not authenticated. So this is why I'm going to grab everything from here, and then I'm going to locate it right between the else and end if. Okay, so if we make the indentation here, it will look more nicer. And if you remember, I already logged in with the gem-shaped coding user to my website, so I should not see anything in the right pane of our navigation bar because I'm not logged out. Okay, so we will go to our web page back and then we will refresh, and then you can see that this login and register has been disappeared. But we are going to write here some new lines in order to display a nice information about the user that is already logged in. So the way we are going to do this is by simply creating a new li tag, and basically we can go and grab this statement and then we can paste that in within our if user is authenticated if statement. And here I don't want to redirect the user to anywhere, so I will just add this sign, and here I want to write a nice sentence like hello, and then we will add a comma, and then I can access the logged in user name. So it will be a variable block, and here I will add user dot user name. Okay, so it makes totally sense to display this kind of nice information. So let's check that out to see if we have done well. And now if I refresh, you can see that we receive here hello Gym shapecoding. So this is quite great, and I will do a new one more li here, and so I will just copy that and paste that in, and then this one is going to be responsible for the log out. Okay, so we will write here logout, and we want to redirect the user to the logout URL, so it will be URL, and then within the string we will write logout. But if you remember, when we actually go to URL of logout, let's see where it navigates us. So we will open the urls.py. You can see that it redirects me to views.logout page, and if I go to our views and check what logout page does, it currently doesn't anything. So we have to write in some code in order to actually log out the authenticated user. So here basically we are going to call the built-in logout function, which arrives from here. Okay, so you can see that we did not use that yet, but we are definitely going to use it over here. So we will write here logout, and then we will provide as information the arrived request, and then we probably want to redirect our logged out user back to homepage, so it will be return redirect home. Okay, and now I expect everything to work, so let's go back to our website and then refresh that out, and then you can see we also have logout here, and if I press logout, you can see that we see back the login and register, and we also are at the homepage, so it is quite great. Okay everyone, so now I want to log in back to the website, and I will do that with the gym shaped coding user. Great, so if you remember, we did not quite configure the behind the scenes programming of purchase this item, and it makes sense to create here a post request because this is kind of going to change the ownership of that specific item. Okay, now I know that we did not provide any field inside our item module about ownership, and we are going to create this addition just in a second, but for now we want to go within our items module, item models within the Bootstrap models, and we want to add here a form because the post request requires an HTML form, and you remember that from the example of login and register pages that we have created previously. So in order to accomplish that, I will go into my website and I will grab here a new code snippet which is called addition to purchase item modal, and I will grab here the form that will allow us as a logged in users to purchase some item. And now I will go from here to includes and then to items underscore modals, and I will add this snippet inside div class model dash body. Okay, now I just want to create the indentation here so it will look nice. Great. So here we have a form with a method of post. Now, I know that I didn't talk about the CSRF token, but basically this is a auto-generated token that you have to provide when you as a client are going to take changes within the real data that is stored in the associated website, I mean the associated database for that website. So if you are not going to provide this, then you are not allowed to create a post request as a client. And you can see that it has some titles about the item name and item price, and this arrives from the item object that we iterate over. And you can see that we also have some inputs over here and some buttons. Now I'm going to go over those two just in a few minutes. So we have here an input which its type is hidden. And when Django recognizes a post request, it is going to search for the inputs within the form that provides that post request. So this is why I created a hidden input that the client cannot actually customize, and I gave it a name like purchase-item, and I set its default value into item.name. So this way we can go to our views.py and we can grab the value of this purchased item. Okay, so you will see an example of it when I go and configure it within our views.py. Okay, so just remember that the name attribute here is the most important attribute within all this form. Alright, so we will just test out the results of the addition of this form. So let's go back to our website and then let's refresh that out. And let's click purchase this item, and then you can see that we have a nice addition here, and then we also have another nice addition over here. Now if I'm going to click the purchase, there's nothing going to happen because I don't handle the post request within my items page view, and we are going to do that right now. So let's go to our view, and here is the area that I want to deal with the post request. And for sure, as a beginner, we will handle the get request, which is basically displaying all the items. So this is why I am writing this if expression here, and I will just put those two lines inside the request.method equals get. And I will handle differently if the user provides a post request. So it will be if request.method equals post, like this, and then we will write some code here. Now for just that moment I want to write here pass, because there is an extra action that we have to take within our models.py file. Great, so I'm inside the models.py file, which is located within the directory of main application, and here we want to add one more field in order to describe a kind of an ownership that the user has to an item. So if you think about the phone item, for example, that we created, we want that specific phone to have one more field which is called owner, and we want to have the option to choose between the created users, and then we kind of want to assign this item into an ownership of that user. So in order to achieve this kind of tasks, we need to create one more field which is going to be in a type that is called foreign key. Now that foreign key will allow us to navigate through the users, and then we will have the ability to choose who is the owner of that specific item object, and then this will totally make sense, because if a specific user is going to have ownership about certain items, then it means that he purchased those items. So we will go here and then we will create a new field that is called owner, and then we will make that to be equal to models.foreignKey. And as a first argument, we have to assign the model that we want this foreign key to be related to. So this is obvious that we want the model of users to be assigned as the related model to that foreign key. So now I must import that user module that has been already created by Django. So I will write here something like from Django.contrib.auth.models import user. Okay, so this is the model that we want to import, and then as a first argument here I will write the module's name, which is the user, and then this means that the user can own certain items. Okay, this is what that means. Now there are going to be some more arguments that we have to specify in order to migrate this new field successfully into our database, and that is going to be an argument which is going to take care of giving a value of default. Now the reason you have to do this, it is because you already have certain items and you are adding a new field to some items, then it is going to search for the value of owner. So this is why you have to provide a default value for the existing items. Okay, so we will set the default as none, and we also want to specify in our admin page that if we do not provide the owner about those items yet, then it is fine. So we can do that with a special field that is called blank, and we will set that to true. Now there is one final thing that we have to specify in order to make this new field successfully, and that is an argument that is called onDelete. Now basically when you provide a foreign key to a field, what that means, it means that the user is the parent of that item model. And if you think about it, if I am as a user of Gym Shadecoding being deleted from that website, then we have to specify what is going to happen with the items that I own. So this is why we have to provide a new argument which is called onDelete every time you create a new foreign key. And in that case, if I am deleted as a user, I want to set back the item that I owned as null again. So that means that the onDelete's value will be set to models.setNull. And what that says, it says that okay, if there is a user that is going to own certain items, then I'm just going to set back their items into none again. Okay, so this is why we specify that onDelete equals to models.setNull over there. So now I will allow myself to go back to terminal and migrate these changes, and we can see that we have an error that says that we have to provide a null equals true argument on the field. So we will do that as well. So let's go over here and then right here null equals true. So what that means, it means that this field could be null. Okay, so we will close our server for a minute and then we will delete everything, and now we want those changes to take effect. So we will run python manage.py make migrations, and then we will run python manage.py migrate. Okay, and now I have a new field within my item model. Okay, so that is perfectly fine. And the next action that I want to take is basically set up an ownership about some item if a logged in user is clicking the button purchase item. Okay, so I will navigate back to my views.py file and take certain changes if our request.method is post within our items page view. And before we actually write some new code in the request.method equals post, let me just bring back the website and show you the changes in the admin page. So it will be python manage.py run server here, and then what I want to do is basically go back to my website, and then I want to log into admin page, and then let's log in with our super user. Okay, so now I will navigate back to items, and then let's go for the iPhone, and you can see that we have a new field that is called owner, and you can see that there is a special drop down that shows me the current users that are available within my website. So that is perfect. So what we have to do is to code the logic of giving an owner for a specific item when the user clicks that purchase item button over the items page. So a kind reminder here. We will go to the items, and then what we want to set up is basically when me as a user clicking purchase this item and then press purchase here, we want this to be able to assign an ownership of the logged in user. So currently for sure we receive an error, but we have to code this up and then those errors will be disappeared. So let me go back here, and then we will go into our views page, I mean views file, and then we will write here some code in order to deal with the post request of items page. So it will be a new variable here that I will call it purchased item, and then I will make that to be equal to request.post. So I am attempting to get all the information from the post request, and I am looking for a key which is equal to purchased dash item, and I am writing here purchase dash item because if you remember, we have an input inside our post request form within the items underscore models that has the name of purchased item. So if you remember, let's show you that in the items models HTML, and I will navigate my mouse into this line. So the post request is going to add this as an information when a post request arrives to a server side. So I'm looking to get this item's value, and it is totally making sense to search this value within our views.py file with request.post.get. Okay, so now as I have done that, if I'm having a value for that purchased item, then I'm going to take certain actions. So we will write here if purchased item, and then we will assign an ownership to that specific purchased item. So it will be something like the following, and we will go with a new variable and we will call it purchased item object, and then we want to grab that item object from the database in order to change it. So it will be item.objects.get, and here I will write a kind of filter expression which is going to look like name equals to purchased item. So the purchased item object will deliver me the item object that the client wanted to purchase, and then since I grab that, I will allow myself to override one of its fields. So it will be purchased item object dot owner, and then I want this owner to be equal to the logged in user, so it will be equal to request.user, and that exact line is the line that gives an ownership of that specific item. Okay, so now as I have done some customization to a specific object of item, we need to save our changes. So the next line here will be purchased item object dot save. Okay, so that line is going to basically save the changes towards our database. And then because we did not set up any special messages within our website, I just want to print here a sentence that is going to look like congratulations. So I can know that if the user has bought some item, then I could display a message on the server side, and that makes also sense because I want to verify if my code is working or not. So after all this process, we want to navigate the user back to the items page. So we will write here return redirect, and then we will redirect the user to the items page again. Now I want to change the print line here, so we will make that formatted string, and we will give here some more information. So we will write the product, then we will just call an f method here, and we will refer it as purchase item has been bought by, then we will write here request.user.username. Okay, so we can verify that the process has worked successfully. Now what I want to do here is test that out. Okay, so we will go to our website, and then we will refresh this page, and on the right side I want to put my terminal to see if I'm receiving that special print message back. So we will put that over here, then this one we will put here, and then we will try to purchase an iPhone as the user JSC. Okay, so let's test that out. So I'm going to purchase an iPhone, and then I will click here, and then you can see that I am back at my items page, and then you can see the special output. Congratulations, the product iPhone has been bought by JSC. Now, in order to show you my point, I will allow myself to go back to our admin page, and then we will navigate inside our items, and then we will look for that iPhone, and you can see that the owner has been assigned, so that is perfect. But we kind of have a bug within our items page. We should expect that the iPhone page to not being displayed here anymore. So in order to accomplish that, we kind of need to check for the items that their owners are equal to none. So we are going to do that within our get method. Okay, so it does not make sense to give it as a context all of our items, and besides returning all of our objects, we are going to filter it with the owner field, and I will write here a line that is going to be look like filter, and then the Django expects for an expression over there, so I will write owner equals to none, and then I will go back to our page and then see the result. So if I refresh it, then you can see that I don't have the iPhone anymore. Now we can test that out and try to buy the laptop, for example. So I will go with purchase this item and then click purchase, and then you can see that the laptop has been disappeared as well. So we have a good result for this kind of market shop, and we are able to buy some items, so that is perfect. Alright everyone, so the following minutes are going to be the last topic that I want to talk about, and now we are going to deal with automatic messages that the Django can throw for a client in order to give a client a better experience within your website. So if you remember, throughout this tutorial we did not specify any special messages for our users. So we will go back to our website, and you can remember that if we log out or log in or register, we do not receive any kind of extra information about what is going on. So Django has a built-in module to deal with that kind of situations, and I'm talking about a module that is called Messages. So we are going to import this module within the Django.contrib. So it will require us to import this module, and that will be from Django.contrib import messages. And then we can add certain messages within our different views, and then in our base template we can check for messages every time that the user refreshes the page, and if it recognizes that there are some messages to display, then it will display them. So let's try one out. Okay, so we have imported the special messages module, and then we will create a new message right after we purchase some item. So it makes sense to replace this print line with a new message that is going to be displayed for our users. So I will delete this line, and then we will write some message, and in order to write a nice kind of message we can write a success message. So it will be messages.success, and then here we want to give the request as the first argument, and right after it we can give it an f string, and we can display some kind of message for our users. So I will write here, congratulations, you just bought, then we will pull here purchased item for, then we will write purchased item object dot name. Okay, so we can change this actually to item object dot name, and then this one, make that bigger here, and then this one we will change to price. Okay, so congratulations, you just bought iPhone for $500, something like that. Okay, so we will leave this message here, and then we will try to buy a new item. And let's go back to here and log in with our user again. Okay, and now if we try to buy an item and purchase it, so you can see that there are still no special messages within our website. And that is because we did not deal with the messages within our base template. So it makes sense to add this code within our base template because we want to search for messages on each of our reloads, and each of our templates is extending the base template. So it makes sense to write the messages searching in the base template. And this is why I'm going to go to my base.html and I'm going to write after the body some code in order to grab the messages. So in order to check if there are any special messages, we can write here a block code, and then we can write inside here if messages. So this line is going to search if the messages object is none or not. So I will write here and if. Great, and then I will write here some HTML code that the base is going to show us if the messages is not none. And inside here there might be a situation where there is going to be more than one message, so the convention here is trying to loop over the messages object. And that is why I'm going to write a for loop here, and we will write for message in messages because this is an object, alright, and we have to iterate over it. And then we will close our for loop with an end for. And then right here we can create some div elements, for example, in order to display the different messages. So I will write here div, and then I will create the class between the div, and that will be equal to an alert. And right there we want to show the message content, and the message content is simply going to be equal to the message itself, and that is why I'm writing this exact code over there. So let's test that out. Okay, let's try to purchase one more item and try to see alert or message about that. So let's go back to here and then refresh our page. And then you can see that there is already a message about the last item that I purchased. So if I'm going to refresh that again, then you can see that this message has been disappeared because it is probably a message that has been left from the previous session with my items page. So let's try to purchase the item and see the newer message. And if I click here purchase, then you can see that we have the congratulations, you just bought screen for $299. Now I don't have any products left, so let's just go back to our admin page and let's just revert the owner for some of our items. Okay, so let's go to laptop and set their owners to none, so we will have the items back again on our page. Okay, so until now we were able to achieve a situation where if we are going to add some message in certain requests, then it is just going to be displayed because the base template is searching for those messages. And I'd like to write some new messages within our logout and login and the register views in order to make our program nicer. So we will go into the post request of the register, and then right after we log in, we can create here a new message. Also, we will make that success, and then we will write here request, and then our message will be here, you have registered your account successfully. And then we will write here logged in as, then we will call user.username, if I'm not mistaken. So I might make a mistake here, but we will test that out. So let's try to register actually. And just before that, we want to grab the exact same expression and we want to paste that over here, but we want to change this into error. And the reason is this else statement deals with the opposite operation when the registration was not successful. So we will go here and we will change this expression into something like this. So account registration was unsuccessful with errors, and then we want to our user to know the errors. So the form instance is going to save its errors in a special field that is called form.errors. Okay, so we can throw the errors to the user when the registration is not successful. So now we want to test those two messages, and it makes sense to go back to our website and then change this into a register page. And then we will just try to create a new account. So that time we will call it gym2, something like that. And then we will set our password. And then you can see that we have received the you have registered your account successfully, and then we logged in as gym2. And now if we log out, we don't have any special messages yet, so we will set that out and we will go here and we will bring the messages.success as well, and let's make that after the logout. And here we will write you have been logged out. Okay, and that is also great. So now we will refresh it and try to create a new user once again, because we did not test the messages.error. And I will create one more account so I can log out and we can also test this line. Okay, now register. That time it will be gym3. Then again we will set a password, but this time I want to make a mistake by purpose. So let's just write something that is not going to be equal to that. And if I try to create account, you can see that we receive that back, and it makes sense that we see this. So we need to kind of customize it because it actually throws us the actual HTML and we kind of don't want that. So I think I have made a mistake here and I have to write here underscore errors. So let's test that out. And let's actually just mismatch the passwords again. And we'll see that we still receive this. So that might be a requirement to just basically show the form.errors. So I will allow myself to delete everything and revert the arrows to only that, and then that way it will render it as the HTML only. So now I want to check out the results once again. Okay, so I'm mismatching the passwords one more time, and then you can see that we received the errors, which is saying to me the two password fields did not match. Okay, so that is okay, but I'm leaving you to deal with the styling of that because I want to challenge you a little bit about that. And you can check out the Bootstrap for custom styling, and that is very fun. So you just have to play around with the different classes of the different div elements, and it might be a great challenge for you to try out and see if you can deal with that by your own. Okay, so we will try to create an account in a legal way once again. So let's just write here JSC3, then we will go and create our password, and we actually want to write the same password. So we will create an account, then we can see this message back. Now if I log out, you can see that this message is right there, so that means we done a perfect job in the logout as well. Now there is only one position left that I want to provide a message, and that will be within our login page. So we will go back to login, and we want to provide a message if the login is successful. So here we can navigate over that line, and then we can create one more message if the user logged in successfully. So we can write here you are logged in as, and then here we will go with user.username. Now let's refresh our page, and I will try to log in with one of my users, and then I try to sign in. Then you can see that it throws me a message that says you are logged in as JSC, so that is perfect. Now let's go to our views.py one final time, and then here we want to throw a message if the login is not successful as well. So this makes sense to go here into else statement, and that is going to be happen if the user is not authenticated successfully. So I'm just going to throw a general message which is going to look like this. So messages.error and then request, and then we will write here the combination of the username and the password is wrong. Okay, so it makes sense to throw a general message like this, and then we will test that out. So we will log out and then log in, and just let's provide wrong information. Then you can see that we received this message as well. Now, two challenges that I want you to take them out. And the first one you already know. The first one will be to customize those alerts by your own. So you can navigate for the Get Bootstrap. You can go to getbootstrap.com, and then you can search for customizing your own alerts within the colors that you want to put to them. So just go and check that out. I promise you that giving the styling for your website will be a lot of fun. And also I want you to look forward to creating here one more URL and put it as a line within your navigation bar, and you can call it my items or something like that, and then just look for a way to visualize the logged in user, all of the items that that user is purchased. So if we go to one of our users and log in, you can see that we only have the option to display the available items within our market shop, but we don't have any special page that describes the items that the user owns. So it makes sense to make a new page that displays to the user the items that he purchased. So for example, if I go and buy the Galaxy phone, and then I just click purchase, I don't have any further information about the items that I personally own. So it might be a great challenge to see if you understood some of the topics that I covered, and then it might be a great idea to try to customize your own page and just throw out the items of that logged in user. Alright everyone, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, okay? I know it's been a long one, but I hope that you understood everything about what I just said in the last 3 hours, and I really hope that you will have some positive comments about this video. So peace out, and I hope to see you in my channel for some of the videos that I create as well, and have a good day.